Well, I want to thank both clubs for inviting me to take part in something like this. It's pretty special. It's nice to see so many turners from around the world join us. I'm gonna point somebody out because I don't think he's terribly well known, and that's Alfred. Now we spent a lot of time on that piece of his. I would advise you on Facebook to look up Alfred. He does some amazing work. Uh, and I also want to thank Doug, my lovely assistant, for allowing me to use his studio. As many of you know, I don't have the bandwidth to do this. So we'll jump into this. I'll do a little advertising. I mean, obviously, I'm giving away one of my tools. And Doug, can we go overhead?
Yep.
Uh, the tool was about 7 months in design. There's a cutter missing. It's actually on the bar. Uh, it has or can accommodate a square flat top, a 16 millimeter round flat top, a 12 millimeter round flat top, a 12 millimeter shear cup cutter, and a 10 millimeter shear cup cutter. They all attach with an M4 by .08 screw, 8 millimeters in length. Um, it gives some diversity to what you're going to turn and maybe the product you're going to turn. Um, I know you don't want to change cutters all the time, so we'll sell you a bar for every cutter, okay? Uh,
Oh,
coming,
Ron, when you buy the tool, does it come with that assortment?
yes. In fact, I reduced the price. I'm running the assorted pack as a pro pack for $60. It's regularly 74. Every cutter comes with a screw, um, and when you buy let's say you buy the bar. Let me show you the bar, okay? This is the bar, okay? Stainless steel, 5/8, 15 and a quarter inches long. So that means my tang is 6 inches in. Gives me weight, gives me balance, gives me length. The bottom, can we go to the overhead, Doug? The bottom is different because we've almost rounded it, okay? And if you look here on the tip, we don't have a good flat till we're here. So what you'll see is when I work, I'm going to be a little further away so that I don't get tippy, especially with the square cutter. So if you buy the bar only on those 5 cutters, you're a member of the Pro Club. Being a member of the Pro Club, you get 10% off all those cutters for 1 year. Buy the bar and the handle, you get 15% off. Now later in the year, we're going to come out with a pen kit, okay? And it's going to have a 9 millimeter, a 12 millimeter, a square negative rake, and a round negative rake. Now you'll notice there's 2 different screws in here. This has the countersink. These two right now you can buy at Woodcraft. They are Rikon. So you can get negative rake tomorrow. But if you buy them there, obviously you wouldn't get a discount later. So that is that. Uh, I'll have a short handle for the pen turners, which is this handle. So now we've reduced the total length from 25 inches to about 16 inches. So now the tool's lightweight enough to use on pens or smaller items. Now, we also changed on there, and I don't know if you noticed, those are Torx head screws. I got tired of seeing people strip out an Allen wrench, either the wrench and or the screw. So we went to that M4 by 8 screw, and now you don't have to worry nearly as much. I've not yet stripped one out. I've been turning with the tool for 7 months. Ken Blaine, a local here, turned with it for about 5. Dan West out of Columbus, Ohio, has turned with it for about 5. I'm going to show you my mindless turnings. Now some of you on Facebook have seen them, commented on them. I noticed here in Doug's shop, you can see to the side here his bandsaw. Next to the bandsaw is a bucket, and it's for cutoffs. And I was running out of silver maple, and there was a little cutoff there. And I thought, I gotta be able to make something out of it. So one of the first ones I did was this, okay? And you can see this was the round part of the log. I had obviously cut here, had a much bigger piece. And this was laying there, and I thought, I think I can do something with that. So this was the very first one. The second one, I wanted to go the other direction. I wanted a negative space as much as I could get. So again, now the curve is more severe, but I only had 1.5 inches to hollow. This would be round. This would be about that big. But I still had the ability to go in and hollow that out. And I did it with the Pro Bar. And then this shape, I just thoroughly love. And I've made 6 of them. This is all silver maple. And the disappointing part was there's really no grain to it. Now the bark held on great. So I put a call out and got some walnut. Now this changes everything. The dynamic. Okay, and you can see the log curvatures here. My cut was out here, and again, this is, I think what we'll make today is something like this. It's pretty severe in its angle of cut. It's a round bottom. I'll show you how I chase around the outside of the bottom, and right after getting all of the walnut in, I did get some oak in. So the first piece of oak I did was just a plaything, and let's go overhead, Doug. It was really a scrap, and this is terribly small, but the medullary lines, the way I cut this oak, now they're going horizontal, and they go almost all the way around it. I did go in with a sandblaster, sandblasted this out. I could just about go through. So all of a sudden I thought, well, I've got this oak, I'm going to play and do something like this. There we go. Okay. And again, you can see this is the feathered area here. This is crotchwood. And you can see now how the lines change going around it. Nothing is straight. We have been taught to look at a piece of wood as end grain or cross grain. This is neither. The medullary lines are running this way now, and the growth rings are running this way. I did brush these out. I took a steel brush, and I know one of the guys asked me to bring the brush. I don't think I have it with me. But you can use any bristle brush, and you can open these up. This is chestnut dye, and it is the white liming wax. I used first the other product, Hampshire Sheen, and I just wasn't happy with it. The inside, I at one point tried the white liming wax inside, and I just wasn't happy. Okay, so I went back in and sanded it all out, and I left it dark.
Hey Ron, do you use a hand brush or do you use a power brush, a power steel brush?
It's a steel brush. It's the steel brush is by hand. It's about the size of a toothbrush, quite honestly, Matt.
Okay,
And
all right, thanks.
it's pretty stiff, but while it's on the lathe, you can really dig into it. And some of this I did afterwards. Now I've got 2 pieces in work that are sandblasted, and boy, the medullary lines just popped out on it. I wasn't going to bring those. I don't want to show them until they're finished, and that should be in the next few days. So hang on one second. Questions I'll take at any time. Okay, Doug's here with me. I'm first going to show you the tool on a piece of dry wood. This particular piece of wood is maple, hard maple and walnut, and we'll use the 12 millimeter flat top cutter. And I noticed at the retreat how many more people were using carbide and used it incorrectly. So we started having a carbide class. You wouldn't think it's necessary, but it did help. Pull out. There we go. Now, in most cases, people are cautious, especially beginners, and they'll run the lathe too slow. And then they'll push on their carbide too hard. Now I'm going to pull the face shield down. So I was looking in the wrong place to shut this off. Now look at the tremendous tear out, okay? For some reason this piece isn't running as true as it was earlier. I'm going to show you how to make a cut, a shear cut, to take that out of there. So I'm going to drop my hand way down. It's against my hip. For some reason this just doesn't want to true up.
And Ron, you've rolled the tool so that the edge of the tool is at a steeper angle, right, to get this shear, is that correct?
Are you rolling the tool so it's at a steeper angle?
Hang on. Now I've got a shear cut cutter on here. This is not a typical scraper cut.
I think you need to change the camera angle.
I'll get my lovely assistant to do that, Ruby. Now I'm going to glide back. Now part of it is I'm running too slow. And that's what most beginners do.
What do you call too slow, Ron?
Pardon?
What do you call too slow?
Probably, let's see where I'm at here. That's 700, okay. Now this is 1600. Now, here's the tear out area, and there's no tear out. I've got some there. I can take that out. Again, about 1700. Now, this is not a typical scraper cut, okay? And hopefully, and this is what come out, and I do have some tear out there, but that's probably a 220 cut. So let's move inside. Now the tool was designed around the 12 millimeter cutter, and that's my go-to cutter the majority of the time. I'm going to go in here with the 12 millimeter, 10 millimeter shear cup cutter. Now, when you're using a shear cup cutter, you don't want to come in flat. These are as grabby as they get and aggressive. All shear cut cutters are terribly aggressive. So you're best to shear cut with them. Now, these are a 4mm cutter, so I can ride the bevel. I can fall backwards and it'll start to make the cut. I can also go this direction. But you get the idea. And we'll do more shear cutting when we get the walnut up here. So I'm going to take this off. We'll move into the actual project. Question?
Matt Barber had a question that kind of covered up with sound. Matt, are you still with us that you could ask that?
I was asking the question about how he was rolling the tool up to do a shear scrape with that, or a shear cut.
Well, the shear cut is going to come because of the angle of the cut, okay?
Yep, you did answer that. Thank you, Ron.
And we're going to cut, let's go to an overhead, Doug. This is a flat cut. We need to,
Yeah, move that. There you go.
there we go. Is that better? So this
Yes.
would be flat. Then I'm going to rotate this over here. I'm probably 30 degrees, 35 degrees. You can do this with any cutter. I can do it with the 12mm flat top cutter. And I'll show you later, you can do it with a diamond. Let me tighten this up, make sure I just remounted it. That might be why it was out a little bit. Still out. Now this is a 12mm flat top cutter. And again, it's out of balance. And again, eliminated the tear out. Here's an end grain tear out here. There's none up here, okay? And all that is tipping the tool and the cutter just slightly. Now, let's go into some mindless turning. Now, this is one of the logs that I started with. Now, everything I'm turning today is out of one branch. You can see everything's off center. Huge, wide sapwood on this piece, and some big bark. There's real heavy bark up here. So what I do, to try and imagine what I want to do, is I may take a piece and lay it up on there and take a look at the angle, because I don't want to be straight grain. And one of the things that I learned as I progressed through this is take a piece of pipe, okay, and maybe rotate it around, and you can see as I get over here how severe this line can be. And that's kind of what I'm looking for in the open shapes. Now I can get this out of here. So I mark my piece, and I've got one marked, I think, and then I'll cut it out. Now this is the sister piece, so this is the cut I made. So this is how I started. Now after I've cut that, I have to make one more cut, and that's across the bottom. Okay, sister piece. So now I've made this cut. I want this to be my flat, and it's going to go between centers like this. So here's my center, and I know when I pull up my tailstock, what'll happen is I'll get a mark through here from my 60-degree cone. Then I'll take it off. I've got my mark. Take the drill, and I'm going to drill a hole here. I want my 60-degree cone to fit in here properly and give me the support I need. So we'll move these.
I do something similar. I use a Forstner bit on the power drill to do something similar and use the stem center, the live center.
Yeah. Okay. Those are, I can give you the dimensions. This one, 4x4 or 5x5 by 10. Okay. Now this one I haven't cut the angle off yet, and I'll do that using a T-square. That will also help me line my piece and get an idea of where it's going to cut. So now I'll lay this on here, and I can change my angle by simply changing this angle of cut. So I'll take a marker, mark that off, go over to the bandsaw and cut it off. Now I've cut it off, and I've started to true it up, and I'm going to put it in the chuck. I did this yesterday, so I could very well be out of whack. So we'll have to true this up. This may have to go back between centers.
Yeah, otherwise it might go.
I'm going to cut this nub off on the bandsaw. I think it's hitting.
Yeah, it's hidden.
Looks like Doug had a new blade on. So not, oh yeah, much better. Now you can see the sapwood turned ugly. It's got a bunch of dark streaks in it. And I'm going to turn with my flat top cutter, 12 millimeter. It's what the tool originally was designed around. I'm going to bring this up for some support and make sure I get off to a good start. Now you can see on here I've already lost a piece of bark. Maybe you can see it right here. Okay. That was done when the tree was cut. So, but I still will make something out of this. I'm going to come down here. Make an adjustment here. I'm going to come down further, be a little closer. Everything matches up. So what I'm going to do now is start to put my shape in, and I'm a little high. And I'm going to hollow this and start to round it. Now we're still cleaning up some of the sapwood that turned color. Got a bad hump right through here. Now I'm going to shear cut and try and clean up. Probably obvious I'm on a different lathe. I'm struggling with the shutoff is usually right below me on my lathe. I've got a little hump through here. I'm going to take that out. Shear cut.
Put the helmet on. It's covering the camera.
Now, the space here between the bark and the sapwood is just terrible. It's soft, it moves, it's pliable, and it cuts like it's fabric, more like cotton almost. So it's getting through this. Once this is dry, it's hard and stable. I got a little hump there I'm going to take out. I'll round this out more. The thing you have to remember when you're doing something like this, my grain is going this way. And I think you can probably see it. You can follow the grain line. Well, if I get this too thin, it's not like I have anything really, the fibers going up and down the piece. It's not like an end grain or a cross grain. So it'll become wobbly when you get too thin, but I'm going to thin it down a little more.
Couple questions. Somebody wants to know how wet the wood is that you're actually cutting.
There's enough to get my face shield wet.
That's a good
I haven't measured it. The tree was cut 2 weeks ago, so it's wet. It's seriously wet. Okay.
So it looked like when you started to turn this piece that you're using a flat top cutter.
Yep, 12 millimeter.
And you were using it flat.
Yes.
And
now,
then just recently you turned it into a shear cut, right?
Yep. I rolled it over, so I got a cleaner cut.
Roughly,
Honestly, I'm not getting much tear out at all out of this.
roughly what angle did you turn to?
35, 40 degrees, I'm guessing.
Cool. Thank you.
This is flat. This is rotated. Okay. Now let's just try something here once. Oh, shoot. There goes the bark. I forgot I moved this.
Hey, Ron, I have a question. When you're shear cutting, are you using the bevel or just floating it?
I'm using the bevel, okay? And good point, Alfred. If you can see the tool, where we are here. Here we are.
There you are.
This is at a 30-degree angle, the cutter itself. Now, we took the heel off as much as we could so that you could ride the bevel, all right? Most of the time, I'm going to ride the bevel of the cutter, let me show you this, okay? Good question. All right, here I'm riding the bevel. It won't cut, okay? Tip it up, and you can see the kind of cuttings that are coming off of it.
Yes.
Now as I move down, I guess I don't think I've ever turned this slow before. I think pedal lathes will go faster than that. But you can look and see here, it even reflects light because I burnished the wood. I rode maybe a little too hard against it.
Yeah.
So here, I'll pick up some speed and I'm going to drop my hand way down. And now I'm riding the bevel again of the cutter. This cutter is 2.8 millimeters thick. Now on the shear cup cutters, it's even easier because they're 4 millimeters thick. And this is the cuttings that's coming off. Now I can show you that with the shear cup cutter too. This is pretty easy to learn and honestly to teach. Again, I'll do this in slow motion. Alright, so I start out here riding the bevel, not cutting. Lift my hand up, rotate it over.
You lift your right hand up, right?
Yeah, I lift my right hand up to make the cut. Same thing you would do with a lot of tools. Now here, I'm going to drop it way down, and I'm going to come this direction. Now those are bigger cuts because of the lack of speed. But you really don't see, there's a fraction of tear out right there.
Yeah.
So if you make the same cut at a higher speed, there goes some more bark. That's another thing. Centrifugal force itself can pull it off. So this is a shear cup cutter. Now you can see those are much finer. And I'll rotate my body in. And I know most of us don't like the sand. So there's a benefit to learning how to shear cut with any tool. Even your bowl gouge, you can shear cut with that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go in flat, and I'm going to reduce this down, and then we'll go into the hollowing.
Yeah, you're basically using that tool as if you're using a skew. It's doing the same, being applied the same way. And that's why you're getting such a nice, clean surface there, right?
Alfred, it's like a small skew. It's a round,
Exactly.
small screw. Okay,
Yes.
a skew. So, yeah, you're right, buddy. All right, now I'm going to hog some of this out of here. Now, I got to take that hump out of there. Otherwise, I'm done. Part of the hump problem is going to be here. This will tear out on me. The tool cuts in both directions. At this point, I probably would sand a good portion of this, okay, especially from here down. And we'll go back now, and I'm going to create some space here. I'm going to leave some support on here for a few minutes. Still need more space. Oops, can't get it. So we're not going to support this. Here we go.
You need extension?
There we go.
We got a question in the chat. It says, do you ever resharpen or hone the carbide?
Yes, you can. And you want to use a good sharpening system. I use and sell James Barry's system. It's a 300, 600 card or a 600,000 card. And I also carry Trend Lapping Solution. When you use Trend's Lapping Solution, you get a 5-year guarantee from James Barry on the, oh yeah, Doug's got it. Believe it or not, he finally got rid of the old ones he had. So this 300, 600, whoops, you're back over here. Okay, 300, 600, you would put your cutter face down, put 2 drops of lapping solution, and just light touch it around, okay? It won't be factory sharp, but it really extends the life of the product. Many other people who sell carbides are going to tell you they can't be sharpened, but they can. You can also get a little finer, I guess more sharp, using the 600 and doing both. This is a lapping solution. I guess I can go this way. 2 drops of that. For most of us, this is a lifetime supply. These I think are 32. This is $14 or $16. Thanks, Doug.
How many times do you think you can do that before you should throw it away?
You want to repeat that?
Yeah, what was that?
How many times do you think you can resharpen that carbide before you should pitch it?
Well, one thing you'll run into is it's getting thinner every time you do it. I would guess you could go a long time, all right? Again, I'll be truthful with you. You can go a long, long time. Now, the only thing you cannot do are the shear cup cutters, okay? I know there's guys out there that are trying to do those. The cup, the lip of the cup is the cutter, okay? It's good. Now, this is going to be really hard to see. It's this very small edge here. So to get this true and run it around, it's 7-degree angle of bevel, very little bevel, 4 millimeters thick. And if you get one side lower than the other, it's not going to cut right. But people are mounting these, trying them on a drill and holding a card up against them. Yeah, you probably can do it. I'd be anxious to see. If any of you try it, let me know. I'd be real curious.
And then to clean the card?
Yeah, then you're going to clean the card. Because there's going to be residue left from the carbide on there. So you want to clean it off and keep it clean. You know,
soapy water? That's the question. What do you clean it with?
Yeah.
Soapy water?
Yeah. You can do it in soapy water. I would just take a cloth and just kind of wipe it off. Okay. Now, let's cut bark. And this is what makes these pieces what they are. Now, I'm going to cut it with a diamond. And if Doug can bring me overhead, well, they reflect bad. This one is a radius point, and I know that's really hard to see. Let's see if that helps. And this one is the pointed, and I mean it's razor pointed. This one tends to dig in because we're going to go in this direction, and I want to follow the piece down through the center. Okay, so we'll do that, but only with the radius point. You want to take the picture out?
Yeah.
Now, I was turning around 2,000 RPM. We'll stay right around 1,500. So now I'm going to just, what I want to do is take this edge, where are we here? This edge, and I want to follow the edge of the piece. You can hardly see this piece. Is there anything white?
They pulled out black. I didn't know black would work. Yeah, there you go. Put that underneath there.
Oh yeah, that helps a lot.
Yeah, that's.
So now you can see the ghost where I'm going to start slicing in. Usually at home I'll have a something like this in white, and it also helps you see the shadow. Start to cut, move to the right. I'm hopeful all the bark that's coming off is from the very inside. So let's see how we did. I'm pretty thick here. I'd like to get a little deeper to clean cut this, if I can do it here. Okay, at this point I'll take the support out, clean Doug's board off, make it a little easier to see. I'm going to retract the quill so I don't get stuck. Now the decision comes in, what's my wall thickness going to be? I can see from here it's what I've got there now is much thicker than what I've been turning these. But then again, in rehearsal, like Matt, I blew one up yesterday. So our bark is pretty good. Now I'm going to go back to the 12 millimeter flat top cutter. I'm going to check my tightness of my chuck. And remember, this all started from scraps. Just stuff laying in the bucket next to the saw. Slow things down a little now. I'm not supported. We're at 1600. Yeah, I'm going to try and take a little off here. Yeah, I just saw that piece of bark fly. Nope, we're in pretty good shape. Pretty thick yet. I'm going to make a shear cut, so I'm taking less of a bite. Above center. picking up my cut, trying to thin the wall down. Now I can see I'm still taking some bark out, so at one point here I got to be fairly light. And what's unique about this side comes out, this side stays flat. That's part of this whole mindless thing. I got some lumps there I got to take out. Again, just trying to follow the outside, lighten things up. Still pretty thick.
Ron, we got a couple questions.
Yep.
One person wants to know if you're cutting on center.
When I'm shear cutting, I drop my right hand down and that raises the cutter up. So now I'm shear cutting above center and taking as little off as possible. See if I can do this. I can't do it because of the amount of air I'm turning. There's no way I could keep it steady, wait for it to come back around. And I don't know if you just saw that. There's movement here.
Oh gosh.
Okay, whoops, and that might separate right there. This layer is just impossible. So I'm going to continue down through here. I'll take another 1/2 inch out of here. I don't know how thin I am.
The question is tool related, and how do you hollow with the tool?
I didn't get it.
No, repeat it, will you?
How deep can you hollow with the tool?
Oh, wow. Deeper than I should, okay. I've got this one piece. I've done a couple deeper than this, okay, which gives you an overhang out to here, okay. And I think I've even gone just a shade deeper.
So what would you say you are over the tool rest there?
Probably 6 or 7 inches. Well, yeah, probably 6 or 7. The length of the bar to the collar is 9.5. Go ahead, Doug. 6. Okay, and I can go a little deeper. The advantage is the pro handle is 1 pound 2 ounces.
Do that again. Hang that over there. Now we can see.
See on this one, because you can only work so close up here, and I'm probably working closer than I should. It's just a habit I've always had of being inside the tool rest, especially hollowing. My tool with handle and bar is almost 25 inches, so it does allow you to go a little deeper and feel a little better about it. Let me take this out. We're going to go another 1/2 inch or so.
The long handle gives you leverage to help prevent catches and the
Yes.
piece pulling the tool out.
Yeah, there's a couple of things in there, Matt. One is the total length. The bar weighs 1 pound 2 ounces. The handle, coincidentally, weighs 1 pound 2 ounces. So I got a tool that's 2 pounds, over 2 pounds. I don't know of any other carbide tool out there that weighs that much. It cuts down vibration, gives me a little leverage. Go ahead, Matt.
The other important thing I was going to say is it's really critical at this stage to take really light shearing cuts. If you try to take too deep a cut, you're going to shred your piece. If you
Oh, yeah.
You know, and they've got to be shearing cuts. If you try to take a scraping cut, you're going to shred your piece. So
Yeah.
that angle is really important, and being a little bit above center gives you a little bit of flexibility too.
We have another question.
Go ahead.
Do you ever use CA glue to strengthen the bark?
I do everything I can to avoid CA glue. I didn't even have any in my shop until I started doing these. None of the pieces that you saw today had CA glue on them. None of them. And I would rather burn one, I guess, than try and fix it. These don't take that long to make. Now the bigger ones, the oak, I had a conversation yesterday. My big blue one go.
It's on the bench behind it.
With a guy out of France who does nothing but oak. And we talked about it, and he said, Ron, I don't leave bark on any of mine. And that's Pasquale Day. He said the shape is right, but he said you can't do much with the bark on this. You can't make it attractive. And the next two pieces I have in work, the bark is on, and this bark is just terrible to keep on. He said it's not worth the effort, just remove it. Aesthetically, it really just doesn't add anything to the piece.
And CA glue, once you put CA glue on bark, it stains it.
Well,
Now you gotta go around all the bark to make it look the same. I think.
well, even if you go around the bark, if all of a sudden I want to put CA glue on this piece and it runs out into the hardwood, I can't dye it. It's over. It's done. I've got to do it as a natural piece, and generally it leaves a stain, and that stain just never wants to come out. So my next two pieces you'll see won't have the bark on them. Kind of a shame because I really worked hard to keep it. The one I sandblasted, but it still just aesthetically does nothing. Hey Bruce, has anybody gone to sleep? Or are they waiting for the NASCAR wreck?
Do we need a loud crash?
Yeah.
Somebody's posted that they're asleep.
Now what I'm trying to do now is shape my bottom to be round and check my thinness and thickness. Almost there. So we're gonna say we're shaped pretty good. I gotta get the nipple out, and I've got a bad one right there. So let's get that out of there, and then we'll start to work the other direction. right, so I'm going to say the inside is good. I'm going to get set up now to finish the other part. Got it. Bringing up the tailstock. Now, I'm mounting this light to the end of the quill. Before you ask, the light is from Wood Turning Wonders, Ken Rizza. I will caution you, they do not like moisture. Had one short out turning wet madrone. I dropped the tape here somewhere. Here it is. Now, what I'm going to do, if I was to run this in, I would get a continuous flashing light, okay? And that'll just drive you absolutely crazy. There'll be no concentration. So I'm going to cover part of that, but leave the end where I need light.
Ron, you're using this light instead of brighter one for a reason?
The cutter itself?
The light.
Oh, the light.
Could you have used
Well,
the
I
brighter
like
light?
the magnet. I had IKEA lights. They just don't give you enough light. You know, these are all LEDs.
I think Bruce
and-
is thinking it's not very bright. I think that light is really bright.
Yeah, this light, I don't know if you can
Yeah,
tell
I think you can
online. It's almost blinding. I mean, seriously. They throw a tremendous amount of light, and I'm going to see if I've gone deep enough. Almost. I need a little more.
So when you're taping off the part of the light that's flashing you in the eyes.
Oh, it'll drive you absolutely crazy. Now, when I'm standing here where I'm going to cut, I don't see the light. But it gives me illumination through the other. So I'm rounded here. My bottom is somewhere in here. So we're going to start chasing the bottom. A couple ways to do that. I'm going to take my diamond and reduce the thickness of the tailstock end. You know, there's one thing I forgot to tell you all. When you have a diamond tool, the entire length from the point to the point is a cutting edge. So you can use it going either direction. I can do a bowl with this. The thing I'll have to watch now as I come in and I follow this curve, if this point right here, can you zoom in, Doug, or not?
Yeah.
If that point catches, the piece is gone, okay? And it'll leave a mark that's incredible. So now I'm going to go back to my 12 millimeter cutter, and I'll start to work my way around and see if I can find some light. Shear setting. I heard the bird chirp, so I'm getting thin. Trying to gain some more light down there. Create some workspace. Go back to shear cut. Went to a severe shear cut, trying to smooth things out now. Drop my right hand way down. Getting fairly thin out here. Oh, we'll see how we're doing. Alright, the piece is rock solid. Pretty consistent. I don't like that bump, so we're going to take that out of there. Again, shear cut. Now, I'm going to switch back over to the diamond and try and chase the bottom around. I am fairly thin there. So I'm going to start here and follow the diamond around like this, making sure I don't get to this. So, and then the decision has to be made, how thin am I going to get before this pops off? Now, I'm also going to make a shear cut here, and just by rocking my body. Pretty consistent. Still got a bad hump there. Now you can see I'm getting some wobble. Okay, so now the guess has to come in. How small do I want to make this? I do want to shear cut that yet.
Bruce, got a question.
Go, buddy.
You're using the diamond cutter always flat, or do you do it?
No. And watch this. Now I've got some fuzz
Yeah,
here.
I'm showing you your side view.
And I want to see if I can shear cut this, which this will shear cut. I mean, a cutter's a cutter. It doesn't know what it's doing. I just have to watch the point, the outside point. I'm not sure if you can see what's coming off, but hopefully I've improved it. Improved it a little. Go back to my 12 millimeter. I've got plenty of room to work.
So on the diamond, if you cut the point you say that you shouldn't catch, that doesn't just etch a line in it. It actually
It's a catch. Now,
it's a catch. It self feeds and
yeah, and all of a sudden it's kind of like having an extra point on a cutting tool. Let me go in and I'll part this off like, and I do use the diamond as my parting tool. So we'll go in here and that's how deep I can cut up to these 2 points right here. Okay. Now let me create some work room. If I was to come around and now go in this direction, and this point hits, I've got 2 points of contact, and yeah, it's ugly, okay? And you can see how wide of a cut you can make with a diamond.
what angle do you have on the plastic pipe? I don't know what he's. Dave Miller just asked that.
Oh, on that, where I was, it was just something I cut off, Dave. You know, I use it to stack my tools in. I'll glue that down, throw a tool in it. I would rather see you use the square. Okay, and if you got a wide square, a builder square that's, you know, maybe 2 inches wide, you can adjust that to get the angle you want on the outside of the bark. Okay, because it's the steepness of the bark that's what you're looking for. Oh yeah, here's another one. Okay, so Dave, let's look at this. I don't want to break my piece yet.
You can zoom out some.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
doing
hang
it
on.
now.
There you go. That's a little bit of it.
Yeah, let's get in here. So you can see this is 1.5 inches, 2 inches. I've decided one of the steepest sides is this side. So you don't have to use a pipe. You could come in this steep and you would cut this angle off on the bottom down here. And it'll make it even more severe. This piece is terribly severe, okay? Now you got to look at the roundness of this log. I wanted negative space. So if you don't have a burl around, you can create your own negative space doing just this kind of thing. It depends, and you can see the angle here. This was the angle of the log. Dave, have I helped you, buddy?
Or are you more confused than ever?
Well, yeah, it is tough to visualize at times. Remember, you got a scrap laying there, and it might just be you cut this to avoid the pith. Here's the pith. You can see it running through there, and you just cast it off to the side. Or you go out to your log pile, and you got some of these discs laying there. You play with it. There's nothing that's exact. There's nothing that is I don't know. It's a plaything. It's mindless. Don't get this to the point where I have to think about it. Throw it on the lathe, see what you get, and take some scraps. You're not out anything using scraps.
Just your time.
You're on. Question.
Yeah.
Not to steal your thunder, but I look at that piece right now on there. I'd spindle turn that down and make a base on it. But are you planning on cutting it off?
Yeah, I am going to cut that off. Now here's the problem. That's Jay. That asked the question.
No, this is Larry Putnam.
Oh, Larry. Here's the problem. To turn this, let's say like a podlet, okay, and make it like I don't know, champagne glass. My grain's running this way. To go any distance, your grain has to be straight up and down the piece. So, okay, I'm pretty thick right now. Watch this. Okay? So, to go any distance is difficult. I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's just not quite that easy. All right? I'll give it a try. Yeah, I mean, again, if it's a scrap piece of wood, you've lost nothing.
Might have to support the cup to do that.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah. And in fact, I can taper this down. I'm weak already.
It's amazing how it just cuts sideways like that.
Now it's bending back here. Okay?
Now you can see
Right
where
about
the
there.
grain's going.
So to turn it thinner, yeah, you know, just remember this piece of scrap wood. So if it goes flying, you probably take the light with it. Up, up, up,
It's
up.
rubbing on the light.
Oh. Now you see what happens, okay? I didn't take, 1/8 of an inch out of there, and there it is. So that's kind of the risk you take doing this because your grain's running this way. Ken Blaine
Right.
came out and he cut a big one of these. And we got it to this point and he says, I need to take this home to my wife. Will you part it off for me? So I did part it off.
Ron, at
Yeah.
that point, couldn't you take the light out and say put a ball inside and support
Yeah.
it with the tailstock?
I would think so, Ruby. I also have some pieces from Rubber Chucky, okay? So if I could make those fit in there well, yeah, that would support it. Let me show you this. This is a drive center. But yeah, this could go in here, okay? And it would support it, okay? Where I could get
Show what you have again.
more cut on it.
Pull it back out again. Okay, they didn't see. Yeah.
See it? So yeah, as long as you got it positioned pretty good, you could. This is not a live center. See if,
Yeah, any one of those you could screw onto the.
yeah, let me screw one on. I have done it. Don makes some nice pieces. And this may be a little big.
There's a smaller one in there.
It goes all the way through, yeah.
If you can, they seem to work better if you can get it on the sides of the goblet rather than in the center. Not the goblet, but the piece.
Yeah.
Right, yeah,
If you get a big one like this, to
because it would round
but it
support.
might, but you got an offset.
You
But
want
see-
the wobble. Yeah, like that.
Now
That's the
I'm
one I
putting-
use is the no-nos.
But now I'm putting pressure on all the bark.
On the bark.
And I haven't tightened anything yet.
So don't put a lot of pressure in. Don't put any pressure. Just get it in there so it's snug, and don't put any pressure, because the goal is to prevent it from wobbling and bouncing around the shop, right?
Yeah.
So
Matt's dying for me to have a NASCAR.
Yeah.
I know Matt well, okay? Let me go
Be
Another
back.
gentle, Ron. Be gentle.
Yeah, I know.
Another way you could do it is you could do a pressure chuck, flip it, and turn it with
Yeah.
tail support.
A jam chuck, yeah. Yeah. Now I can only apply so much pressure because of the bark. Let's see what kind of wobble we get.
Hey, not too bad.
Not too bad.
Done it?
Yeah, that's exactly how I do it, Ron.
Okay, Matt, how fast should we go?
Hey Matt.
We're gonna make your fault.
Hey Matt, what happened in rehearsal the other day?
Yeah, I didn't have a rubber chucky on it, and I was moosing it. So yeah, and frankly, at this point, I'd probably use a saw.
Yeah.
Awful thin, Ron.
Well, what kind of NASCAR was that? Now I've got a mark down here I want to get out. I'm trying to shear cut with the diamond. Almost gone. Yeah, and I'm guessing I could almost do that with a knife.
That looks good.
Yeah, let me, I got a saw here somewhere, I think.
Yeah, you could do it with a skew just by hand with the lathe nut running.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Right, Cade?
Yeah, you could. Totally. We're sharp knife.
I didn't bring my knife with me. There we go. So here's the piece. Got a little bit of a nub there. And you can see here's my grain pattern running this direction. That's what makes it weak and doesn't give you the ability to make a stem. Now I would have sanded this long before this, but nobody wants to see somebody sand. So I don't know.
Very nice, Ron.
You all
Yeah,
need to
really
think
good.
about and look at your scrap pile, especially alongside your saw, and get an idea of what you can do with it. Any more questions, comments?